Have you ever felt like life is crushing you? Like no matter how hard you try, the storms keep raging, the mountains won't move, and the weight on your shoulders is just too heavy to bear? What if I told you there's a secret weapon, an ancient, powerful truth hidden in just 8 verses that can shift your entire perspective, lift your burdens, and give you unshakable peace? Psalm 121 isn't just a poem. It's a lifeline for the broken, a shield for the weary, and a promise that you are never alone. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll walk away with a truth so powerful, it will change how you face every single challenge in your life. Let's dive into Psalm 121, verse by verse, and uncover why this passage has been a source of strength for thousands of years. The psalm begins with a desperate cry, I lift up my eyes to the mountains, where does my help come from? Have you ever been there? Staring at your problems, feeling small, wondering if anyone sees your pain? The beauty of this psalm is that it doesn't ignore your struggle. It meets you right in the middle of it. The answer comes swiftly, my help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Think about that. The same God who spun the stars into existence, who carved the mountains you're staring at, is the one who's got you. That means your problem, no matter how big, is not bigger than him. He doesn't just see you, he's already moving on your behalf. This is the foundation of true peace, knowing that your life isn't in the hands of fate, luck, or even your own strength, but in the hands of a God who never sleeps, never fails, and never leaves you. Now, let's go deeper. The psalmist declares, he will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Close your eyes and picture this. You're walking a dangerous path. Maybe it's financial stress, a broken relationship, or a health battle. Every step feels shaky, like the ground could give way at any moment. But here's the promise. God isn't just watching you, he's actively holding you up. Imagine a parent steadying a child learning to ride a bike. That's him with you. And then comes the most breathtaking truth, the Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. In ancient times, shade wasn't just comfort, it was survival in the scorching desert. God isn't just near you, he's protecting you from what could destroy you. The sun won't strike you by day, nor the moon by night, meaning nothing, seen or unseen, can touch you unless he allows it. That's how personal his care is. So no matter what you're facing today, you can breathe again. You're covered. You're guarded. You're loved. Now, here's where Psalm 121 becomes your battle cry. Verse 7 says, the Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. Notice it doesn't say might or could. It says will. That's a guarantee. But wait, does that mean nothing bad will ever happen? We live in a broken world and pain still comes. But here's the key, harm isn't just physical, it's eternal. God's ultimate promise isn't that you'll avoid every storm, but that no storm will destroy you. Think of Job. He lost everything, yet God restored him. Think of Joseph, betrayed and imprisoned, yet God promoted him. Your trials aren't your end, they're part of your story. And the best part? Verse 8, the Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. This isn't just a temporary fix, it's an eternal covenant. From the moment you wake up to the moment you rest, from this day until your last, God is with you. That's why you can face anything with courage. That's why you don't have to live in fear. That's why this psalm is your secret weapon. Now, let's talk about how to activate this truth in your daily life. It's one thing to read Psalm 121 and feel encouraged, it's another to live like you believe it. Start by declaring it over your fears. When anxiety whispers, what if you fail? Answer back, the Lord is my keeper. When doubt says, you're alone in this, remind yourself, he never sleeps nor slumbers. Asterisk, this isn't just positive thinking, it's spiritual warfare. Every time you speak God's word, you're reinforcing his promises in your heart and shutting down the enemy's lies. And here's the best part. You don't have to do this perfectly. Maybe today all you can muster is a shaky whisper, asterisk, God help me. Asterisk, that's enough. He meets you in the weakness and fills it with his strength. So take this psalm and make it your daily armor. Write it on your mirror. Set it as your phone background. Let it be the first thing you reach for when life feels overwhelming. Because truth isn't just meant to be read, it's meant to be lived. Asterisk. Finally, let's talk about community. Psalm 121 wasn't written just for you. It was written for all God's people. That means you weren't meant to walk this journey alone. When you're too weary to pray, let others stand in the gap. When someone else is struggling, be their reminder of God's faithfulness. This is why we're here, to lift each other's eyes back to the mountains and say, asterisk, look, your help is on the way. Asterisk, so don't isolate yourself. Share your battles. Celebrate your victories. Let this truth unite us. We are stronger together. And if you haven't found your tribe yet, start here. This community is a place of hope, healing, and real talk about faith. Hit that subscribe button, join the conversation in the comments, and let's remind each other daily, our God is faithful. Because when we stand on his promises together, no storm can shake us. Asterisk. Consider for a moment the profound intimacy of Psalm 121's promise. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. This isn't some distant, abstract guarantee. It's a personal vow from the Creator of the universe directly to your heart. Imagine standing at the edge of your greatest fear, that moment when your breath catches and your knees feel weak, and then hearing these words whispered to your spirit, I've got you. That's what this psalm offers, not just theological comfort, but living, breathing companionship in your darkest valleys. The Hebrew word used here for keep is shamar. It means to guard, to protect, to cherish like a priceless treasure. This is how God views you, not as a project or a passing thought, but as someone worth his constant, vigilant care. Every heartbeat, every breath you take is under his watchful eye. The closing verse seals this sacred promise. The Lord will watch over your coming and going both now and forevermore. Think about your daily routines, the morning rush, the commute to work, the late-night worries that keep you awake. In all these ordinary moments, the extraordinary truth is that the God who measures the universe in the span of his hand is meticulously attentive to the details of your life. There's no transition too small, no season too insignificant for his notice. When you walk out your front door, he's with you. When you return weary at day's end, he's there. And in the quiet spaces between those unremarkable hours when life just happens, his presence remains steadfast. This is the unshakable foundation Psalm 121 builds beneath our feet, not that we'll never face storms, but that through every storm, we're held by hands that shaped the mountains we sometimes find so daunting. Asterisk, perhaps the most revolutionary truth hidden in these ancient words is that our help doesn't depend on our ability to see it. The psalmist begins by looking to the hills, straining his eyes for some visible sign of rescue. But the answer comes not from what can be seen, but from the unseen, eternal God. How often do we make the same mistake? We scan the horizon of our circumstances, desperate for tangible solutions, when our true deliverance comes from a different direction entirely. The beauty of this psalm is how it trains our spiritual vision. It doesn't deny the reality of our mountains, those looming problems that block our way, but it redirects our gaze to the maker of those very mountains. There's profound freedom in realizing we don't have to manufacture our own solutions or rely on human strength. The same power that carved canyons and set stars in motion is actively at work in your situation right now, even when you can't perceive it with physical eyes. Asterisk, consider how this psalm transforms our understanding of time. It speaks of protection now and forevermore. A promise that bridges our present struggles with eternal security. The anxieties that plague us today are temporary, but God's guardianship is permanent. This perspective changes everything. When we face financial lack, it's not forever. When we endure sickness, it's not forever. When relationships fracture or dreams fade, none of these pains get the final word. The psalm gives us permission to acknowledge our very real present difficulties while simultaneously anchoring our hope in God's unchanging future faithfulness. This dual vision, seeing both what is and what will be, is what sustained countless believers through history's darkest hours. It's what empowered martyrs to face flames, missionaries to endure hardship, and ordinary people like you and me to get out of bed each morning when life feels overwhelming. The mountains may tower today, but they're no match for the eternal God who walks with us through every valley. There's a quiet revolution that happens when we truly internalize Psalm 121. It rewires how we process fear itself. Notice the psalm doesn't pretend danger doesn't exist. It simply reframes our relationship to it. The imagery of God as our shade in verse 5 is particularly powerful. In the blistering desert sun, shade doesn't eliminate the heat, but it makes it bearable. Similarly, God's presence doesn't always remove our trials, but it transforms our capacity to endure them. This is why believers throughout history have faced persecution, loss, and unimaginable hardship with a peace that defies logic. They understood what we're discovering now, that the shadow of the Almighty is the safest place to weather any storm. When financial uncertainty looms, He's your shade. When medical reports frighten, He's your shade. When loneliness overwhelms, that same protective presence covers you completely. This isn't escapism, it's the ultimate realism, recognizing that while trouble exists in this broken world, so does a God who specializes in bringing redemption out of ruin. The closing promise of Psalm 121, that God watches over our coming and going, contains a hidden gem we often overlook. In ancient Hebrew culture, coming and going represented all of life's activities. But there's more. The phrase also hints at our spiritual journey, our coming to God in repentance and our going out in service. This means God's protection covers not just our physical safety but our spiritual growth as well. When you stumble in your faith, He's there to catch you. When you step out in bold obedience, He goes before you. The psalmist is revealing a breathtaking truth. There's no aspect of your existence outside God's loving vigilance. Your morning commute and your midnight prayers, your public victories and private failures, your boldest leaps of faith and your weakest moments of doubt, all are enveloped in His keeping grace. This comprehensive care is what makes Psalm 121 so radically comforting. It doesn't offer a naive guarantee of pain-free living, but something far better, the assurance that every step of your journey, whether triumphant or trembling, is held in the hands of a God who neither slumbers nor sleeps. Psalm 121 invites us into a profound paradigm shift from self-reliance to divine dependence. The modern world celebrates independence, urging us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. But this psalm reveals a counterintuitive truth. Real strength comes not from our ability to control life, but from surrendering to the one who holds life in His hands. When the psalmist declares, "My help comes from the Lord," he's not admitting weakness but accessing ultimate power. This isn't passive resignation. It's active trust in a God who specializes in impossible situations. Think of David facing Goliath. His confidence didn't come from his sling but from his conviction that the battle is the Lord's. That's the same unshakable assurance available to you today. Your challenges may look different. Perhaps it's a relational Goliath, a financial Goliath, or an emotional Goliath, but the principle remains. When we stop trying to fight in our own strength and instead rely on God's power, we position ourselves for victories that defy human explanation. This psalm dismantles the myth of self-sufficiency and replaces it with something far more secure: the certainty that the Maker of heaven and earth is personally invested in your story. The timeless power of Psalm 121 lies in its ability to speak across generations and cultures. Whether you're a first-century martyr facing the Roman Colosseum or a 21st-century student battling anxiety, these words meet you where you are. They've comforted slaves in cotton fields, soldiers in trenches, and single parents in empty kitchens. This universality points to a profound truth. Human struggles may change form, but our fundamental need for divine assurance remains constant. The psalm addresses our deepest existential fears, the terror of being abandoned, the dread of facing life's challenges alone, the anxiety about an uncertain future. In just 8 verses, it provides answers that philosophers have sought for millennia. You are seen. You are valued. You are protected. This is why Psalm 121 continues to resonate thousands of years after it was written. It touches the eternal part of our souls that longs for connection with something greater than ourselves. In a world of fleeting trends and temporary solutions, here stands an ancient text offering what nothing else can: the promise of unshakable security in the unchanging character of God. The structure of Psalm 121 reveals a beautiful progression from human questioning to divine assurance. It begins with the psalmist's anxious gaze toward the hills, symbolic of both obstacles and false sources of security, and ends with God's eternal guardianship. This movement mirrors our own spiritual journey. We start by fixating on our problems, then gradually learn to shift our focus to the problem solver. Notice how the pronouns change. The first 2 verses use I and my, reflecting our natural self-focus in times of trouble. But then the perspective shifts dramatically to we and your, as the psalm becomes God's response to human fear. This subtle grammatical shift contains a powerful lesson. Peace comes not from obsessing over our circumstances, but from contemplating God's character. The more we meditate on His faithfulness rather than our failures, on His power rather than our problems, the more our anxiety gives way to awe. This psalm teaches us the art of divine perspective taking, that spiritual practice of lifting our eyes from what terrifies us to behold the one who terrifies the things that terrify us. Every time we choose to rehearse God's attributes rather than recite our worries, we're participating in this ancient, soul-centering discipline that has sustained believers for millennia. Psalm 121's promise of protection takes on deeper meaning when we consider its original context. Pilgrims sang this song of ascents while traveling treacherous roads to Jerusalem, facing bandits, wild animals, and harsh elements. Their literal journey mirrors our metaphorical ones, through life's dangers toward our heavenly home. What makes this psalm so revolutionary is its claim that no hazard encountered en route to Zion can ultimately harm those under God's care. This isn't a guarantee against temporary suffering, but an assurance of ultimate safe arrival. For modern readers, this transforms how we view life's difficulties. That job loss? A detour under divine supervision. That health crisis? A valley He's walking through with you. That broken relationship? A painful stretch of road leading somewhere beautiful. The psalm gives us permission to acknowledge the reality of our struggles while simultaneously affirming their inability to derail God's purposes. Your current challenge, whatever its nature, is simply part of the journey, not the destination. Like those ancient pilgrims, you're moving toward a city whose builder and maker is God, and every step, even the painful ones, is bringing you closer home. This eternal perspective turns our "why me?" questions into "what now?" faith, the kind that keeps walking even when the road gets hard. So here's my challenge to you. Claim this psalm today. Write it down. Pray it out loud. Let it sink into your spirit. And if this video spoke to you, tag a friend who needs this truth, because everyone deserves to know they're not alone. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because we're just getting started. Remember, no matter what you're facing, your help does come from the Lord. Walk in that peace. You've got this, because He's got you. See you in the next video.